Charles Kupchan is a Professor of International Affairs at Georgetown University and a Senior Fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations, and he joins us now live from Chevy Chase in the US state of Maryland. Charles, welcome. So this Estonia incident is the third breach of NATO airspace in a matter of days. What's Russia aiming to do here?
Well, you're not going to see this kind of repeated penetration. First Poland, then Romania, then Estonia, unless the Russians are really trying to send a message to NATO. And I think that message is probably about Ukraine, where Putin seems unwilling to meet with Zelensky, where he has not reciprocated Trump's effort to find a diplomatic end. And as a consequence, one has to conclude that Putin thinks that he can win. And by winning, I would say that's not conquering Ukraine, but it's breaking Ukraine, toppling the government, installing a pro-Moscow regime in Kyiv. And I think one of the messages that he's sending to NATO here is, I mean business. I'm prepared to take provocative actions to you to get you to understand that I have maximalist war aims in Ukraine.
And I mean, how much is given if that is the message that Moscow is looking to send to NATO, how much alignment is there among European members of the public and of governments, and how much risk they're willing to take to confront Russia?
Well, in some ways, Putin is creating a situation which is exactly the opposite of what he wanted. Right? When Putin launched this war into Ukraine in 2022, he said, I want to roll back the post-Cold War order. I want to get at the root causes of the conflict in Ukraine. Well, what's happening as a result? Finland and Sweden have joined NATO. Now you have a new Eastern Sentry system, putting more Air Force, more air defense, more sensors, more interceptors on the eastern flank. Now you're going to see a beefing up of air defenses in the Baltic region. So in many respects, his behavior is backfiring. And I think you do see a lot of resolve in NATO across Europe, and even with President Trump here in the United States, to push back hard against this kind of provocative behavior.
Yes, and on that, Charles, is Donald Trump going to come and help out here? Obviously, there's been a bit of concern among NATO members as a result of these Russian incursions over the last few days. The EU has proposed bringing forward a ban on Russian gas imports after that pressure from Trump. Can the bloc expect a tougher stance on Moscow from the US now?
Well, I think you've seen Trump come around on NATO, right? The NATO summit went well. European allies pledged to move towards spending 5% of GDP on defense. And Trump finally came out and said, I stand by Article 5. I will defend NATO territory. Whether he's actually ready to start putting more pressure on Putin when it comes to Ukraine is unclear. Right? Two main sources of leverage. One, more sanctions. Two, a willingness to send more arms to Ukraine. President Trump is not there yet. My best guess is that he's going to get there, in part because Putin is not playing his cards very well. And these kinds of provocative actions along the NATO eastern flank make it very hard for Trump not to put more pressure on Putin, not to send more aid to Europe and to Ukraine.
Charles Kupchan, Professor of International Affairs at Georgetown University and a Senior Fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations. Thanks so much for your time.
Good to be with you.